On a hillside in Palestine, Jesus of Nazareth looked into the weathered and careworn faces of his listeners, beaten down by taxes and by Roman rulers they had never chosen. He spoke these awesome words that turned the world inside out.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Not blessed will be or might be, but blessed are the poor in spirit. What kind of blessing was that? And what does the Lord mean by being poor in spirit? Poor in spirit is that childlike quality of humility that recognizes our own limitations and the need for God in our lives. It is not an inferiority complex, but an honest recognition of our lack of spiritual self-sufficiency, an acknowledgement that our souls left to their own devices run dry. Think of it this way. A cup that is already full cannot receive another drop, but an empty cup is full of possibilities. Jesus wants us to understand that we cannot receive what he wants to give until we know how empty we are without it. Who among us, after all, is not without fault? Who among us has never reached the end of their own resources and found themselves wanting? The opposite of poor in spirit is self-righteousness, described so eloquently in the story of the prodigal son. The cynic might protest, what good is there in being poor in spirit? It doesn't get you anywhere. Well, it all depends on what you mean by anywhere. It will not get you anywhere in this selfish world, but it will benefit you where it really matters, in the kingdom of God. The poor in spirit know well that God cannot satisfy someone who thinks he is full already, and they realize how sad it would be to discover that your life was full of illusions instead of truth. As the old saying goes, the greatest obstacle to knowledge is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. Being poor in spirit means being empty and knowing it. It means being full of possibilities and being grateful for everyone. It means knowing that you are so small and dependent and unconverted and needy that you ought to live with open hands and an open heart, ready and waiting to be filled. For only those who know they need healing can be healed. Being poor in spirit means that nothing ever has to happen right away. There is always time for waiting and growth for those who are spiritually poor. It means being patient because God is not finished with you yet. Being poor in spirit means freedom. Freedom from the prison of selfishness, from the tyranny of keeping score, from pretending you have it all together, like the haughty older son in the parable of the prodigal son, who despised his brother for the profligate life he once lived. It means forgiveness, because you are a child of God, not because you earned it, but because you were open enough to receive God's blessing. These are some practical ways we can cultivate to foster this quality of being poor in spirit. 1. Share what you have. Treat your possessions as gifts to be shared with others, rather than idols to be polished and admired. If you know or see someone in need, do not look away. Be your brother's keeper, your sister's keeper. This can happen spectacularly, as when Chuck Feeney gave away his entire fortune of billions, or in a small way through a meal shared, a debt forgiven, a blanket offered to a homeless man on a cold day. The size of the gesture matters less than the openness of the heart behind it. 2. Avoid the lure of titles. Do not let your identity rest on positions, accomplishments, or the letters after your name. Treat every person you encounter as your equal because they are. Let your kindness, not your credentials, be the measure of your worth. 3. Remember God's mercy. Acknowledge your need for God's grace, never lording it over others. Be mindful of the goodness of the Lord, who lets the rain fall on the just and unjust, and the sunshine on the good and the bad without distinction. This beatitude finds its highest expression in the one who spoke it. Jesus did not merely teach it, he lived it. Though he was in the form of God, he chose humble service over dominance. He simply said this,
Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart.